The Mthatha High Court is still deliberating a case on the eviction of students at the Walter Sisulu University following violent protests that claimed the lives of a student. Several other students were also injured in the process. The university's Mandela Drive campus SRC leader Themba Zikhali has confirmed that the High Court has put the eviction of students on hold pending an urgent application that is currently being heard in court. The university had resolved on the temporary closure of the university. Unrest at the institution resulted in the death of one person and several others were injured in the process. A 54-year-old has since been arrested and will appear in court on Tuesday. And for more on this, we are now joined by Walter Sisulu University Convocation President, Dr. Lunga Mantashe, and he joins us now via our video link. Dr. Lunga, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, let's start off here. Students were told to evict the premises by the end of business day today. And of course, we now know that there is that urgent court matter that is currently being heard at the Mthatha High Court. How do you respond to the legal action which has been taken upon by the students?
Well, I mean, one can understand why the students have had to approach a court, because logically, if you are chased out of an institution, what choice do you have? If you don't have the money to go home, what choice do you have? You go and approach the court. You go get lawyers that can be prepared to represent you pro bono. And that's exactly what has happened. It's very unfortunate, by the way, because some of these students stay very, very far. They have to, take a bus. They have to book a bus. And booking a bus requires money. And about 72% of our students at our alma mater are funded by NSFAS. So you can imagine the type of crisis that occurs when people are evicted within a very short space of time. We think that this could have potentially be handled quite radically differently, Mbali, because if you are going to evict students, you've got to take very many factors into account. But secondly, you cannot use force to do that eviction, as we have seen yesterday. And Convocation condemns the use of force and violence by securities, regardless of who mandated them. We actually condemn whoever may have mandated them to act in that manner. We think that it's unacceptable because it promotes a culture of violence. It promotes a culture of a contradictory relationship between the security and the students, but also between the university and the students. So the relationship becomes one of violence, one of force, and one where talking is not preferable. In fact, when talking breaks down, then force emerges. We think this is fundamentally problematic. We think it's bad. We think it does not help anyone. You see, the case shouldn't have ended up in a court of law. The case should have ended up in a boardroom, and there should have been an understanding. But when there is a deployment of security to evict people, we've got to remember, Convocation takes the view that these students have, in the first place, paid the university to the residents. And so we think the relationship is very problematic and needs to be probably looked at. And there's a larger debate here that needs to be looked at. And that is the larger debate about what should be the relationship between a student that has paid the university and the university that feels that it wants to protect that student. Now, it doesn't mean we don't accept that there's a need to protect students from further violence. We accept that proposition. But we think the way that the university is going around this is slightly problematic, and this is why we ended up in a court of law.
And let's deal with that, with how the university has handled the matter. This notice, I understand, was only given to students just yesterday, and they were told that they need to vacate by the end of business today. Looking at the time frame in terms of telling students when to leave the premises of the university, would you say that, they did not think through this process in terms of what you even mentioned, that some even stay in other provinces and some would also need financial assistance to be able to go home?
Right. My understanding, Mbali, is that the council took a decision to close the campus, but the council didn't take a decision that people should be therefore evicted with immediate effect, as in 4 hours later or 24 hours later. I would imagine that council would have anticipated that there would be a process that would be fair, reasonable, that would take into account various circumstances and peculiarities pertaining to students of different circumstances. Those are coming from very far. So our reaction and our attitude is that this should have been handled quite differently, especially in light of the fact that we have just had a murder case on campus. I mean, what we saw yesterday was unfortunate, Bali, because we saw security, kicking doors, and this is something that, as Convocation, we want to hammer home. That kind of violence, one wonders whether these security guards are themselves properly trained to deal with students. These seem to be behaving like violent thugs, and it shouldn't appear like that. It should never appear as if the institution has hired violent thugs to violate think about it, Mbali. These people are shooting in the face. How do you shoot students in the face? Like, why do you do that? And who mandated you to do that? So we think this is very, very problematic. We think it should have been handled differently. We think the cases of the students should have also been taken into cognizance. One of the things that needed to happen, Bali, insofar as we are concerned as Convocation, was the complete demilitarization of the very situation, right? So the security shouldn't have come closer to the proximity of students, except insofar as they were protecting property. Now, there is no proof or evidence that they were protecting any property, quite the contrary, in fact. It seems to me that what they were doing was they were destroying property themselves. And this is exactly why this is problematic.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. So that's Dr. Lunga Mantashe, who is from the Walter Sisulu University Convocation. He's the president there.